안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 Katie입니다. Today's episode is about how to start Korean. One of the hardest things to do, in my opinion, when learning a new language is deciding when to start. When I first started learning Korean, I was so eager to learn everything. So I watched tons of Korean dramas, listened to tons of K-pop, went on Naver, Google translated everything. But the thing is, guess what? None of it stuck. Essentially, I was trying to put together a car engine without a manual. All I was doing was filling my head with a bunch of information, but without knowing how to use it or how it works. So it was very hard for me to actually retain anything. I spent tons of hours of doing this. I wasted so much time just jumping around. I have to admit my intentions were good, but my way of doing it was definitely not. Now, I'm not saying not to use K-pop and Korean dramas and Naver to learn Korean. Those things are actually really, really good tools. But they're good tools for practicing Korean. At the very beginning of learning a language, it's really great to immerse yourself in it. So Korean dramas and K-pop and the news is really going to help you immerse yourself in the culture and the language and you're very used to listening to it and seeing it. But these resources are even more helpful when you know some Korean. For example, if someone says, 안녕하세요, 만나서 반갑습니다. 저는 Katie입니다. You probably won't hear that from a native speaker though, because that sounded awful. But if you don't know any of those words, because I mispronounced them, or because you just don't know them, you're gonna have a lot of trouble, right? However, if you knew the first part was hello, and you knew the last part was my name is Katie, then you can probably infer the middle part is some sort of greeting, like it's nice to meet you. You know what I mean? For me, the best way to learn Korean was to make a schedule for myself, to stop myself from hopelessly wandering around from resource to resource and from chapter to chapter. So what I did was I made a schedule saying I'm going to learn this chapter, this day, these concepts, these things. I set goals, I wrote them down. I made it very, very apparent to myself that this is what I needed to do. And getting a textbook was really helpful for that because every single chapter builds upon each other. So the first chapter is all about Hangul. Then it goes into sound change rules and diphthongs and double consonants and consonants. I cannot talk today. And then it goes into words, and you need to know Hangul before you can say any of the words. So then it goes into hello, how are you doing? Then it starts going into how to express feelings. And it mentions, do you remember the word from the other lesson? Cho, meaning, you're going to use this to say this too, and blah, 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 blah. It all builds upon each other. So get a textbook. It's super, super helpful. And tips with textbooks, make sure you understand one concept before moving on to the next concept. For me, I got this textbook and I was so excited to learn Korean. So what I did was I quickly went through Hangul, quickly went through all the sound change rules, and then I was like, okay, I am going to learn how to speak Korean. I'm going to be so good. I don't know why I'm snapping. I'm super excited. So I'm going to learn Korean. So I quickly rush through all that. I go through chapter 1. Good. Go through chapter 2. Good. Go to chapter 3. Good. And then I go on Hello Talk and I record voice messages. I'm trying to talk to people and they're like, what are you saying? I'm like, I'm speaking Korean. And the native people are like, no, you're not. You're totally mispronouncing things. And I was mispronouncing things because I just quickly rushed through Hangul and the sound change rules. I only had the sound change rules like 50% down pat. So I was missing like half the rules that I needed to know. So I was just stumbling over things, mispronouncing things, and I had to go back to Hangul, go back to chapter 1, go back to chapter 2, and relearn everything because I learned it wrong in the first place because I did not practice my sound change rules. So that's why it's very important if you do get a textbook, since textbooks are made to build off each other, like chapter 1 sets you up for chapter 2, chapter 2 sets you up for chapter 3, make sure you got chapter 1 done, you got chapter 2 done, and that way you can go to chapter 3. Got it? My light turned off. Bring me light. Hey, I'm back. Sorry if the video looks a little different. All my things decided to die at once. Okay, now getting back on track. I completely lost my train of thought. Dang nabbit. My second tip about textbooks is you don't necessarily have to buy a textbook. I decided to buy Korean is Simple by Go Billy Korean. And I really like this YouTuber. I've been watching him for a little while now. I love his personality. He makes Korean very, very fun and pleasant. And he's a foreigner, so he doesn't natively speak Korean. So he's able to explain Korean in a way that my English-speaking mind can understand. So I find him super helpful, so that's why I got him. But there is tons of online resources out there. There is Korean Class 101, there is Talk to Me in Korean, and Go Billy Korean even has his own YouTube channel where you can watch all the videos, and I think he has a video for every chapter in this book actually. So I necessarily didn't need to buy this textbook, but I prefer to have something in my hand because it's just very motivating for me to be able to like physically see my progress, because like I'll do chapter 1 and then I'll get like all happy, then I can see I go to chapter 2 and then whoop whoop when I finish it. So I can see myself progressing through the textbook, and for me that's very motivating and that helps me out a lot, and maybe that will help you guys out, because I know I tried studying online at first when I wasn't taking Korean that seriously, and I got very discouraged because I was just online and I couldn't see my progress, so I really felt like I wasn't going anywhere. So that's why I got a textbook, and I found that super motivating. My third tip for using a textbook is don't just use the textbook. I know it's very easy just to go to chapter and do that, but it's very important to supplement your learning with watching videos so you can listen to the language. It's important to practice reading the language. I use Novel Naver, and it's perfectly fine if you're a beginner. You can just go on Novel Naver, start reading everything out. You may have no idea what you're reading, but at least you're practicing speaking and you're practicing reading. And who knows, maybe you'll catch a word and be like, oh, I know what that is. Or you'll like how a word sounds, so then you'll Google Translate it, and that's a new vocab word you have in your pocket. Another thing is a textbook can't talk to you. So one thing that I've noticed is, for example, I learned how to say a phrase, and I went on Hello Talk, I spoke into it, I didn't speak in, I sent a voice message out into the world, like on my page or whatever it's called on Hello Talk. I put it on my page, and people are like, I can understand you, good job, but you have a super heavy American accent. And when I first read that, I was like, what? I wasn't taken back, but I was like, that's so funny and so weird to hear, because you never hear someone be like, oh wow, you have such an American accent. But I do, and that's because I was speaking everything fine, I was pronouncing it fine, but I didn't know the intonation behind it, and I was practicing it only hearing myself, so of course I would have an accent. So I made sure from now on to look up a video for every chapter. So if I'm learning I dislike, I'll type that into YouTube, how to say I like and dislike in Korean. And although I already learned it from the textbook, now I'm able to hear it, and it'll give me more example conversations that I can listen to, so the Korean can really get stuck into my noggin. You know what I mean? I don't know why I keep going like this today. I like it though. It's snappy. Get it? So what I usually do when studying from my textbook is I'll read through the chapter, and then I will get my decomposition book. Get it? Because dinosaurs. And I'll write down like the vocab that I like. I'll write down the vocab and like the grammar concepts and the example conversations to practice writing, and I'll speak it while I write it down. And then I'll make flashcards, and then I'll go over the flashcards quickly, and then that's it for my textbook. I'll study in other ways too, but I'll make a video on that later, so you can watch that video. Another thing that I really like to do when I'm studying Korean and practicing writing Korean is using graph paper. So one thing about Korean syllables is the Korean syllables is made up by a bunch of different letters that kind of go inside a box. So that's why this is perfect, actually. So, like I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this on camera. But, so what I did was, I wrote out all the Korean in the boxes to practice writing. Focus. Ooh. Okay, it's not really focusing, but you guys get the point, right? Right? So yeah, use graph paper. Really awesome tool that works really well. My final point for this video is to study, 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 study. Studying is super important. As I said before, when I first got this textbook, I just blazed through the Hangul section, the sound change rules section, and since every chapter builds upon to the next chapter, if I don't fully understand one chapter, then I'm gonna definitely not understand the next chapter. So make sure you study, you get it down pat. I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe it's for emphasis. I hope it's emphasizing, because I feel like I probably just look ridiculous. Besides studying, I also watch Aria, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, Aria. So every morning I also watch Aria. It is a Korean news channel, and maybe like 60% of it is in English, but the 40% of it is in Korean. They do a pretty good mixture. In the mornings, they tend to do more English speaking, because they'll like do the news and they'll do cultural things for foreigners to learn more about Korean culture. And then the second half kind of more panders towards Korean people, because they'll do interviews with K-pop groups. They'll do this cooking show. They do the after school club. They'll interview Korean speakers, so that's all in Korean. About like they'll interview like last night there's a really interesting story about this Korean artist, and he would take oyster shells, which this isn't his own method. This is like traditional practice they do with making art. And thought I heard something. With making art, and they would take the oyster shell, and you know the inside is all like that rainbow prettiness. So he would take that and he like cuts it, and he would use that to make really, really beautiful art. And it takes him like forever to make things, but it's so beautiful, it's so worth it. And it was really, really interesting to watch that. I learned about the culture, I got to hear the language, and I got to read Hangul. So +3 there. The only thing that could make it better was writing everything down. So when studying, another thing I want to mention is when you study, try to think of 4 main concepts: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So when you study, say you're learning a chapter about saying things you like. Sorry, I keep using that as an example, because that's the chapter I'm on right now. So you're saying things you like and things you dislike. So you want to write down all the vocab you're using, all the example conversations. You want to you want to listen to someone saying it. I couldn't really find the best video for it. I did watch Korean Uni. She was really good, but I wanted just to hear another person speaking. So I went on Hi Native. I asked, could anyone read this conversation for me? And within like a few minutes, someone recorded a voice message of the conversation. So I kept just re-listening to the conversation to get better at speaking more native and more fluently, which is my ultimate goal. So writing, listening, speaking. So everything I write down, I end up speaking to myself, or I'll go on like a Korean website and just read out the website just to practice my sound change rules and speaking. And okay, so reading, writing, listening. What am I missing? Writing, listening, speaking. Did I go over everything? So I want to read all the conversations from my textbook. I want to write down the conversations on the textbook. I want to listen to videos, and I want to speak it. I guess I did say everything. My brain today is just shh. You know what I mean? That's not a word, but you know what I mean. So if you guys have any tips about learning Korean, please comment below. I would love to read them, and who knows, maybe it could help out someone else. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.